Alright guys, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nikhil. So today we have a very candid guy with us. I'll call him blogger. I'll call him a photographer. I'll call him an author. Ajay Jain with me from Delhi. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thanks Nikhil, great to be here.
I know I just researched a little bit about you कि कैसा चल रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, just on your website and read about little bit about your book called Nikita. तो हम ना starting से start करेंगे. You were into engineering and management.
Yeah.
And how did you land up writing a book? I mean, if I'm an engineer by profession and I'm still working, but मैं book लिखता हूँ, वो उसको मैं side passion लूँगा. Now I came to your cafe here. By the way, this is the courtesy to Sir's Cafe, that is Kunzum Cafe. We are out now in Vasant Vihar. If you feel like having a coffee and have a good read here, you can come here. I'm going to leave a link to all the things in the description. Coming back, कि आपका start कैसे हुआ? From where you thought कि यार ऐसा करेंगे और then you landed up fully here.
So, okay, I may have an engineering background, I may have a management background, but I tell everyone, right, that the choices we make as young people need not be choices we live with for the rest of our lives, right? So when I got into engineering and I got into MBA and everything, then I started my career with IT and then I got into sports management. All those things just happened in my late teens and 20s when you don't know what all is waiting out there. Right. And when you realize, oh, there's so much more waiting out there than what we knew or what our parents knew, then you want to do that. And I say, by all means, do that. Right? So 2001, when I was 31, I dropped everything, right? I gave up whatever I was working on and I went back to school. I went to the UK to study journalism. Okay. Right? I came back. I started working as a reporter, as a junior most reporter in the Indian Express group in Delhi. And then I started publishing my own youth newspaper. Then I got into blogging and stuff like that. And then I got into travel writing and I started writing my books. And I started doing my travel photography. And now what we're sitting here, I recently set up these chain of bookstores called Kunzum Books. It's not cafe really, we serve coffee, but we don't call it a cafe. But it's Kunzum Books. It's a chain of bookstores that we've created where we do a lot of events and all. So I'm saying, so I've been a travel writer. In fact, I identify myself more as a traveler. Okay. And I say more as a traveler. Why? Because I love to travel physically and I've been traveling professionally for many years. But at the same time, in my mind, I'm a traveler, which means that I try different things in life.
Can I take a pause here?
Yeah.
I am resonating with you on this. एक बार ना ऐसा होता है I did my engineering. I'm into my comfort zone of IT because I'm getting good pay.
Sure.
ठीक है. I'm gonna leave that thing. और उसके बाद I'll chase up here. Now that fear, एक path है जो fear का, that is tough and I'm not able to break it. I mean, I take this as a passion, but I'm not able to break it. So what's your view on that? How do you feel like if you want to advise me, Nick, you do and this is the method you do and you'll be able to break it, how you will method that?
Very clearly, it's okay to make changes in your life, but don't make changes for the sake of changes, right? Okay. So you have to take calculated decisions. You have to take calculated risks. But the most important thing is, whatever you decide to do, you have to be on top of the game. Which means if you want to be a podcaster, right, your benchmark has not to be your best friend, but your benchmark has to be maybe a Reid Hoffman, a great podcaster who founded LinkedIn also, or your benchmark has to be the world's best. And for that, you have to be willing to not only work hard, we all work hard, but you also have to do a lot of things smart, which means if it need be, you go back to school, you learn from the masters, you learn with humility. You say, I don't know, somebody teach me. You could hire a private tutor, right? You could go back to school, get a formal degree, go and do a course, but you have to be on top of the game. Otherwise, passion for the sake of passion is like smoke without fire. I'm passionate about climbing Mount Everest, but if I don't train for 3 years, if my body is not ready, if my mind is not ready, and I'm not willing to kind of do what it takes to climb the Mount Everest, then I should just leave it as a passion and not go unprepared.
This is more like you create a comfort zone, you break it, and then you chase something else. Is it?
Yeah. So that
is like.
Yeah. So I'm saying a lot of people are now willing to break the comfort zone.
Yes.
Right. But like I said, but don't just, it's like saying I'm jumping into the water without knowing how to swim.
That's stupidity.
Yeah, so you have, like, I'm repeating myself, you have to be on top of the game, you have to train yourself, you have to work hard for it, and you have to be the best at it. Otherwise don't do it.
और आपके ना एक बहुत अच्छा लिखा हुआ है कि यू हैव ऑलमोस्ट कवर्ड ऑल द मोटरेबल places in the Himalayan range, like that is India, Nepal and Bhutan. कैसे क्रेज हुआ and how was the experience you wanna share about?
So,
कैसे स्टार्ट हुआ फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल? लाइक मैं अगर करता हूँ तो मतलब मैं हर चीज़ ना अपने ऊपर लेता हूँ क्योंकि मैं किसी और का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं जानता हूँ. तो मैं अगर कहता हूँ यार मैं अगर जा रहा हूँ हिमालयस के लिए तो मैं मतलब दिस आई एम नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड येट. दिस कम्स टू प्रिपरेशन. हाउ डिड दिस कम टू यू कि मुझे ट्रैवल करना है फ्रॉम इंजीनियरिंग बैकग्राउंड, मार्केट, सॉरी जर्नलिज्म?
तो अगेन जर्नलिज्म बैकग्राउंड ऐसे नहीं हो गया. ठीक है, मैं यूके गया, डिग्री की. हाँ, आप सोचोगे 31 पे स्कूल कौन जाता है, कॉलेज कौन जाता है वापस? मैं गया. मेरी क्लास में 21 साल के स्टूडेंट्स भी थे और मैं 31 साल का था और मेरी क्लास में 50 साल के भी स्टूडेंट्स थे फ्रॉम ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड.
ओके,
आई गॉट अ डिफरेंट एक्सपोजर ऑल टुगेदर. ठीक है, देन आई वर्क विद न्यूज़पेपर्स. राइट, इमेजिन करो एट द एज ऑफ 32 यू आर द जूनियर मोस्ट पर्सन इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. People who are 25 years old are your seniors, right? But I was starting out. Why? Because I wanted to learn. Okay. I wanted to learn how to do journalistic reporting. I wanted to learn how to write, how to edit. I learned that, and when I decided to become a travel writer, that grounding was there. I did not suddenly wake up and say I'm a travel writer, and start doing my blogging and my and writing my books. I went through that training. I went through that experience. I went through that education. Right, and the reason why I took up traveling is both personal and professional. Professionally, I wanted to explore a new genre of writing, and for me, it was travel writing is also a form of journalism. So I decided, okay, I want to branch out into this genre. And the other thing, I was also going through a little personal crisis in my life, right? And I wanted to leave the city. I wanted to go away, but I could not because of certain reasons. I could not permanently move out of Delhi, right? So I said, let's do the next best thing. Let's start traveling. Okay. Right, and I went to and I did a couple of road journeys across India, and I got hooked. I said, what a beautiful country we have. It's such a fascinating experience, right? And can only be experienced by road, and ideally in your own car. I travel by 4 wheels simply because one, it's safe, it's comfortable, I can go great distances, and I can carry all the equipment, all the bedding, all the gear, all the food, which I can't carry on a bike or a public transport, right? So I did that, and I started exploring, and the more I drove, the more I discovered, and I said, like, and I've traveled all over the world, many countries, and I realized, and I'm not saying that because I'm an Indian, right? But I can tell you, there is no country like India to travel in.
Why are you saying this?
The kind of experiences that are waiting out there, right? You take nature, you take wildlife, you take history, you take people, you take tribes, you take street events, you name it. Right, India has everything, and it can only be discovered in its entirety if you are exploring it by road.
So if I ask, have you ever had a solo trip, like you just went solo?
So most of my trips were solo.
There is no one with you.
Yeah, so that's the, again, if you want to be, see what happens is we've all traveled with friends and family, right? कोई कहता है 6 बजे उठेंगे, कोई कहता है 8 बजे उठेंगे, कोई कहता है बियर पीनी है, कोई कहता है कोक पीनी है, कोई कहता है चाइनीज खाना है, कोई कहता है मैं तो कहीं नहीं जा रहा, कोई कहता है घूमने चलते हैं, राइट? उसी उधेड़ बुन में, लाइक, वो हॉलीडे के लिए तो ठीक है, बट व्हेन यू आर ट्रैवलिंग विद अ पर्पस, राइट, देन यू हैव टू बी, अगर आपको 3:30 बजे उठकर आपको 4 बजे दल लेक पे पहुंचना है क्योंकि आपके लिए वहाँ शिकारा वेट कर रही है, और 4 बजे ठंड में आपको 5 बजे फ्लोटिंग वेजिटेबल एंड फ्रूट मार्केट में पहुंचना है, जो शिकारा पूरी मंडी लगती है रोज सुबह 5 बजे श्रीनगर में. तो उसमें अगर आपके साथ जो हैं, अगर वो नहीं जाना चाहते, चलो आप उनको अपने होटल में छोड़ जाओगे, लेकिन वो रात को आपको 2 बजे तक सोने नहीं देंगे क्योंकि हम चलो गप्पे मारते हैं या
पत्ते खेल रहे हैं
या कोर्ट पीस खेलते हैं या बियर पीते हैं या खाना ही खाते हैं या वैसी तफरी मारने चलते हैं. तो अगर आप 2 बजे सोओगे तो 3:30 बजे उठोगे कैसे? और फिर आपको फोटोग्राफी करनी है, वो कैसे करोगे आप?
ओके, मैं ना इस चीज़ को पहले ना डाइजेस्ट नहीं कर रहा. व्हाट इज फॉर मी ट्रैवलिंग इज ऑलवेज a fun, ठीक है? It is never, I've never spoke to anyone who said कि यार traveling is something I'm taking professionally.
Yeah.
So this is, you're the first person who came across who's used the word professional traveling. तो मुझे वो थोड़ा ना बड़ा वो लगा. That's the reason I just intrigued more into it. And then you started writing. हाउ यू थॉट कि इज इट लाइक कि मैं ब्लॉग्स तक अपने आप को लिमिट ना करूँ और देन आई जंप इनटू लाइक फॉर्मल राइटिंग? बिकॉज राइटिंग और ऑथर होना एक अलग अलग चीज़ है. आई राइट थिंग्स एंड आई एम ऑथर. दीज आर लाइक टू डिफरेंट थिंग्स. Would you like to just shade on it?
So 2007 में, you know, around that time, in fact, my first book was on LinkedIn because I was doing some tech writing before that. I was doing some tech columns and tech blogging also. And because I was on top of the tech game, so I wrote my first book was actually on LinkedIn. And later I wrote travel books, I wrote fiction, I wrote a self-help book, I wrote on marketing because of my varied experiences and varied things I'd done, right? But I used blogs and social media more as a stepping stone, but my ambition was and continues to be writing books.
So you were clear in your thought at that time.
Right? So if I'm traveling, right, see, a book लिखने में you need to collect so much data, right, and then you have to put it together and all. It takes months or years. But in the meantime, I said, okay, whatever my experiences are, let me start putting it up on my blog. Let's start putting it up on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. Right, just to kind of keep an engagement going, telling people and building a certain following and a reputation. But I was very clear that for me, I wanted to write the long form. I wanted to write books, and I continue to write books.
The reason I initiated this conversation कि मुझे ना ये चीज़ जानना था कि इस टाइम पे there are people who are very less into books. अगर मैं किसी चीज़ को डॉक्यूमेंट करना चाहता हूँ, मैं ट्रैवल एक्सपीरियंस अपना डॉक्यूमेंट करना चाहता हूँ, I'll do it in a video form. I'll put it as a vlog, I'll put it as an audio, or I'll put as some pictures that is running. But you write in a long form कि हम book में लिख रहे हैं. Just to target, is it to you want to bring it out to some people who really want to hear it, or is it just your passion over it?
I think both, because again, every media form has a customer. You're sitting in a bookshop, right? We've got like tens of thousands of books here. कोई खरीद रहा होगा ना, तुमने बुक शॉप खोली है, राइट, और लोग खरीद भी रहे हैं, इसलिए बुक शॉप चल भी रही है, राइट. बट लोग खाली इंस्टा भी, सोशल मीडिया पे भी कंटेंट पढ़ते हैं, लोग न्यूज़पेपर्स भी पढ़ रहे हैं, लोग यूट्यूब पे भी जा रहे हैं, लोग सिनेमा भी जा रहे हैं, लोग फिल्म स्क्रीनिंग्स पे जाते हैं, राइट. तो हर एक मीडिया के लिए एक कस्टमर है, तो बुक्स के लिए भी कस्टमर है. और मेरे को जो एक सेटिस्फैक्शन मिलती है, जो मेरा अंदर से मन करता है, वो मेरा बुक्स लिखने का मन करता है. I like to see the whole thing coming together.
Okay.
200 pages, 300 pages, 400 pages. I like to see it come together.
It's like dots जैसे बढ़ते जाते हैं.
Like, you know, that's my passion. लोग कहते हैं, कोई आर्किटेक्ट कहता है मेरे को इतनी 50 माले की बिल्डिंग बनानी है, राइट. उसको वो दिख रहा है कि वो बिल्डिंग ऐसे बन रही है, आ रही है, तो
that feeling of satisfaction.
For me, a book is like that. Bring the book together. So for me, blogs and social media are only for marketing and only a stepping stone, but my end goal is not to be a digital influencer.
Has there been any experience you would like to bring up, like over the journey of your 10,000 kilometers across, कि कभी कुछ ऐसा experience हो you want to share up?
I think the most incredible experience I had was I was in Assam, in Manas National Park.
Okay.
ठीक है. अब वहाँ पहुँचे कैसे, वो भी एक
कहानी है,
because ना गूगल मैप्स होते थे, ना आइशर मैप, थोड़ा बड़ा रूडिमेंट्री सा था. 2010 की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, ठीक है. पूछते पाछते हम पहुँच गए, हमें पता नहीं था. हम तो बेसिकली आई वाज डूइंग हिमालयन जर्नी फ्रॉम कश्मीर टू अरुणाचल बाय रोड, राइट. एंड तो मानस नेशनल पार्क रुके रात को. अगले दिन सुबह हमने कहा सफारी पे चलते हैं, और अपनी पर्सनल गाड़ी अलाउड थी उस नेशनल पार्क में. ज़्यादातर नेशनल पार्क में पर्सनल गाड़ी अलाउड नहीं होती, तो उसमें अलाउड थी. तो हम सुबह बिल्कुल, आई थिंक मार्च का महीना था, एंड थोड़ा जंगल में मिस्टी तो होता ही है, और थोड़ा सा हल्का पहाड़ी पर भी है, तो थोड़ा मिस्टी था. तो हम एक बहुत लंबी सी ना लेन, वो जैसे पेड़ों के बीच में ना बिल्कुल एक फ्लैट सा ट्रैक था, तो हम उस पर चला रहे हैं. तो सडनली हमने देखा दूर ना कुछ हलचल हो रही है, कुछ मूवमेंट हो रही है. तो गाइड ने बोला गाड़ी यहीं रोको. तो हमने गाड़ी रोकी, उतरे, एंड थोड़ा सा हम आगे गए. तो सडनली वो फिर थोड़ा जैसे जैसे थोड़ा सन ऊपर गया ना, थोड़ी रोशनी होनी शुरू हुई. एंड सडनली आई सॉ about 60-70 elephants.
60-70 elephants.
All age groups, from little babies to grandfathers, right? And they were all playing with each other. वो एक दूसरे को धक्का दे रहे हैं, एक दूसरे को वो चढ़ रहे हैं, हंस रहे हैं, अपनी ट्रंक से एक दूसरे के साथ इंटैंगल कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल एक दूसरे को धक्का दे रहे हैं पेड़ों के अंदर. And I got a series of photos, and I'm telling you, I showed those photos to some people who work in elephant conservation. वो कहते हैं कि हमने 40 साल में इस तरह का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं देखा जो आपने वहाँ पे देख लिया. तो वो जो एलिफेंट्स का वो जो खाना, एंड यू रियलाइज कि दे आर लाइक अस, दैट वाइल्ड लाइफ इज there's no difference. हम कहते हैं हमारे जो घर में पेट्स वगैरह होते हैं हम उनको इतना प्यार करते हैं. The whole of nature is so beautiful. It is so animated. It is talking to us. We should talk back to it. We should take care of each other, right? That's the most beautiful thing I learned. That this planet is not just us. We are all
Right. Exactly.
That's the biggest learning I had from my travels. हम कितना भी मारामारी कर लें कि ये आप हम बात करते हैं यूनिकॉर्न्स हो जाएंगी, आपके पॉडकास्ट पे कितने फॉलोअर्स हो जाएंगे, मेरी कितनी बुक्स बिक जाएंगी, लेकिन रियल लाइफ इज बीइंग इन सिंक विद नेचर.
Exactly. एक तो पहले आई वुड लव टू लर्न इट कि ना ये कुंजुम क्या चीज़ है. व्हाट इज़ कुंजुम, फ्रॉम वेयर दिस आइडिया केम अप. और एज यू ऑलवेज मेंशन कि यार आपने बचपन में नहीं सोचा कि यू ओपन अ बुक स्टोर लाइक दिस. आई कॉल इट अ बुक कैफ़े, क्योंकि मुझे ना ऐसा लग रहा है यहाँ पे बहुत लाइव है कि यू जस्ट हैव अ कॉफ़ी, यू रीड. एंड how did this idea evolve? Because there is nothing like that I see on in Delhi or maybe any metropolitan cities.
So early 2007, when I decided to be a travel writer, I went to this region called Spiti. Yeah. And then I thought I'd lost my way, right?
Okay.
Because that whole terrain was such. And then but I kept driving because there was only one way to drive. And suddenly I came upon this place about almost 15,000 feet above sea level, a flat piece of land, absolutely the most stunning spot I'd ever stood on. Imagine 15,000 feet above sea level, absolutely pristine, no human being, no animals, nothing, right? And I said, like, if this is my country, if this is the planet, this is what I want to keep exploring. The place I was standing at was called Kunzum